Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And welcome once again to a special edition of the Juice Box. We are days away from the biggest event in pro wrestling history. I'm talking about AEW's All In from Wembley Stadium. It is going to be, as Gorilla Monsoon once said, a happening. This is going to be, 80,000 strong at this show. It's going to be one hell of a crowd. I cannot wait to sit back and enjoy All In. This is the prediction show for All In, as you already probably know. As always, you can follow me on X or Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter, at Juicy Steen, Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Rate and review this 5 stars on iTunes. That would really help out. Also, juicysteen.podbean.com, if I didn't already mention that. Normally, Josh Eisenberg would be joining me for this prediction show. However, due to last-minute issues, he was not able to make the recording today. However, next week, we've got 2 big shows lined up for the Labor Day weekend. Now, we have All In this weekend. But next weekend, we have WWE's Payback emanating live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Saturday night, and then All Out emanating from Chicago, Illinois once again on Sunday night of Labor Day weekend. We will have 2 juice boxes coming for you next week, and there will be guests on both shows. Predicting both shows. So I'll leave it at that. But Josh will definitely be here for the Payback show and for the All Out show. Unfortunately, he could not be here for today's show. That being said, I will tackle this card up and down, as there are quite a few matches on this thing, but I'll get into the good stuff about why I think it's a good call to have so many matches on a show, touted as the biggest event in wrestling history, and why you'd want to do that. First, though, I would like to take this moment to reflect on a legend. Honestly, I'd say at least top 15 overall all time for most wrestling fans my age. Dare I say, and I might say, top 10, solely based on just their work that they've done over the course of their career and life in the wrestling business, and out of it for the better part of 5 decades. Of course, Terry Funk passed away Wednesday, the 23rd. It's a tough one. He was 79, so, he lived pretty long, especially for pro wrestlers of his era, especially when you think about it. I mean, how many are left from even the 70s? If you just kind of regard wrestlers even from the 80s onward, Flair, Bret Hart, Hogan, Slaughter is still alive. Very few, Steamboat, very few, though, have lasted as long as those guys have. Oh, excuse me. But, yeah, Terry Funk, unfortunately, did pass away. I've stated, I put this out there, that I think he is one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time, as I stated earlier. I could probably say top 10 overall. Every company he appeared in, he contributed in a big way. In the WWF, he had some interesting runs in the late 80s. He goes to the NWA. I remember, he has a match against Eddie Guerrero like at least 5 years before Eddie Guerrero really saw North American television sets, which is pretty fascinating. Of course, the legendary 1989 feud with Ric Flair, the I Quit match. Then he goes to ECW, does some work there early on, and then he also goes to WCW. He works in '94 in War Games. He has a match with Tully Blanchard at Slamboree, which I think is fantastic. If you haven't watched that match, it's a Legends match. Both guys aren't even contractually signed to WCW. It's Terry Funk and Tully Blanchard. And they just beat the tar out of each other. It's in Philadelphia. And the guys on the call are Bobby Heenan and Gordon Soley. It is like the perfect match of commentary plus, legends in the ring as well. But I mean, he went to ECW in '97, won the ECW World Title at the end of Barely Legal, their first pay-per-view, and helped that pay-per-view really, put a bow on that pay-per-view as the legend, as the veteran. Then he goes back to WWF. Chainsaw Charlie has some matches with Foley. They win the tag titles at Mania 14. I just, he goes to, they do One Night Stand 06, and he's bloody in that. I mean, he really just transcended time, and he was in almost every era with importance. There was never really, a time where he was in a company and he wasn't properly utilized, or he didn't do what he could have maximized on. I always just thought he was always utilized perfectly. Like, had he been in AEW, I think he would have done great. They would have treated him just like they do all their legends, with a lot of respect, and give them a spot that they can handle, even if they can't wrestle anymore, which, it's perfect. But yeah, unfortunately, another one gone. Like I said, 79 is a pretty old age for, I think it's a pretty average age for people nowadays to pass, maybe a little older than average. But like I said, for his era, and how on off, and how I don't even know if that's a word, how uncommon it was, for how seldom it was for guys from that era to still be around, especially with the stuff that he put his body through. You really wonder how he even lasted to 79. It's conceivable he could have had a lot of trouble for years before that. So rest in peace to Terry Funk. Absolute legend. If you haven't gone and watched any Terry Funk matches, if you're unfamiliar, check out the I Quit match from Clash of the Champions 9. It's on Peacock. That should be more than enough. Him versus Flair. I think you'll get your money's worth if you have Peacock. And then, so outside of that news, like I said, we got All In this weekend, All Out next weekend, Payback next weekend. Payback should be fun. Like I said, we'll have guests for both shows to predict, so stay tuned for that. But we'll get into those shows as the week comes up. It's just crazy having 2 straight weeks of just predictions when all these shows are just hitting all at the same time. It'll be refreshing in 3 weeks to come up with, we'll kind of have the dust settle from All In and All Out, and Payback as we head towards Fastlane in Indianapolis. We'll get a better sense of what they're doing, as Survivor Series is coming up as well. So, but the AEW front, I don't think there'll be another show after All Out until Full Gear in November, I believe, and I think that's taking place in LA, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, pretty stacked next couple of weeks, so it should be fun. Let's get into All In though. This I am fascinated with this show. I cannot wait for this show. It's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern for those on the East Coast, those such as me. It should be, like I said, it should be a hell of a show. I think there's pieces of it that will work. There's pieces that might not work, but they're going to work purely because of the fans. I don't think the fans are going to let anything suck on this show. At least not in kayfabe terms. They'll boo the people that they're supposed to boo, but and so this show's loaded. There are 9 matches that will be on the main show, but the 2 matches on the pre-show will probably be very good. We have a 6-man. We have 2 6-man matches, a 4-woman match, a coffin match, a stadium stampede, 2 world title matches. A lot going on, so we will get into it. I don't know what order we're going to get into it, but we'll kind of start with the pre-show. We have Hook challenging Jack Perry for the FTW title. This has been stewing for a while. I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know if Jerry Lynn was going to do something. Then they brought in RVD. I didn't know what was going to happen with this. Any other Philly legends. Seems like it's just going to be Hook versus Jack here for the FTW title, and it's on the pre-show. So Hook will get a good reaction. Jack Perry will get booed out of the building, of course. But it's kind of frustrating. I thought we were going to see some more ECW-esque stuff going on with the belt, the FTW title, as it were. But it doesn't look like we're going to get anything further from that or than that. So be that as it may. I would say Hook is going to take back the FTW title here. But if he doesn't, it really will be interesting to me what Hook does from there if he's not champion, and what Jack Perry does if he retains it. Will he retire it? Does he care? Stuff like that. I really don't know what they're going to do with the FTW title after All In. Then let's get to a crazy pre-show match here for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Aussie Open, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher versus MJF and Adam Cole, baby. I hate this. I am so... Here's how I look at it. All In and All Out are, back-to-back weeks, right? And All Out is primarily probably going to be the more storyline-driven AEW week-to-week pay-per-view that you're used to. All In is really... think of it this way. The first AEW... it wasn't an AEW show. It was 2018's All In. Wasn't a company show. It was just like, let's get the best wrestlers we can and put on the best show that we can. Now, that's not to say that the matches on this show aren't storyline driven or won't be discussed week to week going into All Out or after All Out. But, to me, they lucked into this MJF Adam Cole thing, because outside of that, as the main event, I don't know what they would have had as hot as those two are, and the storyline as hot as it is to main event this show. MJF and Adam Cole had to tag team for the Eliminator tournament, and they ended up becoming friends, losing a match, but getting super over. Great segments week to week. They're great on the mic together. They're great together with their chemistry. Everything's firing with MJF and Adam Cole, and I think that because they got, they got very lucky. AEW got extremely lucky that this is hitting like it is. And maybe I shouldn't say lucky because MJF and Adam Cole are two of the top guys. MJF has been the top heel in AEW as soon as he did turn heel. I believe with Cody back in maybe 2020, or I couldn't even tell you. But ever since MJF has been heel, he's been the top heel in AEW. So to me, he definitely earned the main event here. And Adam Cole, who has had a great run in his career, I would say not peaked, but so far, the highlight has been his work with the Undisputed Era in NXT. A lot of great work there. But now, after the injury, he comes back. He's kind of lost in the shuffle. It's this MJF thing, and they bounce off each other. They play off each other so well. And now Adam Cole is going to be in a main event of a show with 80,000 people watching. And MJF is going to be defending the title in that same match. So with all those things lining up, and we're actually getting an incredibly hot angle with two guys who really earn it and have made this storyline the best storyline in AEW. One of the best storylines in wrestling, especially with the bloodline kind of tapering off for now as we kind of slow down before the ramp up to Rumble and Mania next year. And with the Judgment Day picking up actual steam with everybody holding something, even though Finn is not holding anything. But the shifts are going with storylines in WWE. So outside of that, MJF and Cole have been a bright spot in pro wrestling. So when you have that and you're striking while the iron's hot and you're going to put forth that match as your main event of, quote, your AEW's quote, the biggest event in wrestling history, then why are you risking injury by putting these two guys in a pre-show match for tag titles that, let's face it, nobody cares about? And that's not a disservice to Ring of Honor's history. I was a huge Ring of Honor fan. I came in to being an independent wrestling fan when WWE really was at a tough point in the late first part of the decade, like 2008, 2009, 2010. I was really involved with some Ring of Honor stuff. I loved, Tyler Black, who became Seth Rollins, and Kevin Steen and El Generico, who, the WWE Tag Team Champs right now, like the Young Bucks and Adam Cole and all these guys that practically this entire damn show were Ring of Honor guys at some point, or were in the PWG scene, which was it's a huge indie out in California. All those guys and girls wrestled throughout those companies, and those titles and accolades meant so much then because it was the alternative. But now that AEW just owns Ring of Honor, and instead of separating themselves, they kind of incorporate Ring of Honor to make it seem like it's tough. It's like WWE. It would be as if WWE, was WWE for 4 years, and then all of a sudden, like an NXT was a separate entity, and WWE just bought NXT, and decided to just run everything together, and NXT could be fought, here, and just all these things. It's just not the same as it once was. It's not even a secondary brand because there is no Ring of Honor. There is Ring of Honor TV, but it's so niche right now. It's tough for me to care for the Ring of Honor tag title. So sure, I said nobody cares, and I'm sure some people do, but your majority of your audience is here for the main event, MJF and Adam Cole. So why risk injury and negate the first time that these guys have their entrance? Now, you'll get to, I think the only positive part about this is Yeah, outside of the injury part, that's the biggest part for me because anything can happen. If one of those guys gets injured and your main event is screwed, there's going to be a lot of questions to Tony Khan about that. But outside of that, you will at least get the tag team entrance of Better Than You, Baby, which will be nice. And you'll get the separate MJF and Adam Cole entrances. So we'll see how it goes. I predict that Aussie Open retains the titles here purely because it'll begin a little bit of a rift for the end of the night. It'll cause a little bit of a dissension. And I think that'll be a nice through line through the show. I just hate that it's happening because of the injury factor. It's just like a preseason game with football. You have 3 of those games. You might play a series or 2, and then you end up, sitting out because you got the first week of the real games that count, in a week and a half. And sometimes the coaches will play players in the last preseason game, trying to get them, knock some rust off. There's pros and cons to that type of thinking and rationale. But as soon as you do that and then someone gets hurt, it's like, well, we didn't even have to do it. The game didn't count. Why do we do it? And it's not, again, it's not to say the Ring of Honor tag titles don't count or the pre-show doesn't count. But is the tag team entrance worth more than the guaranteed health of a main event if you don't have the match? That's not a decision I have to make, thankfully. But because I wouldn't make the call like Tony did, I would say, tough, you guys are going to be in the main event. That's it. Aussie Open can wrestle, they could wrestle 2 other guys. We'll see how it plays, and I'm sure it'll work out. But it's just baffling to me why you would risk this main event in the pre-show. I don't know. So Aussie Open will win. I got Hook winning the FTW title back. Let's get into the main card. This is nuts. We have so much to talk about. I'm going to try to pack it in under 50. But let's do it. We got FTR versus the Young Bucks. The 3rd match in their trilogy. This will be the rubber match. Tag team titles on the line for AEW's World Tag Team titles. Of course, the elephant in the room here is the Cash Wheeler aggravated assault with a weapon, which is a felony, and he got booked and everything, and he was on AEW on Dynamite the other day. Outside of that stuff, which I'm not going to really comment on, I don't know the facts. I don't think Tony Khan even knows a lot of the facts, but regardless, set that aside for right now. We'll get to that when when it's brought up again legally. But it does not appear that Cash will not be able to show. Some were worried. Some fans were concerned that the passport could be taken away or some sort of legality issue where he wouldn't be able to travel across the pond for this show due to that. As of right now, seems like it's good. I'll feel better about it when I know that FTR is in London. But this match, I got to tell you, this is a match that I have wanted to see. Wow, probably since 2016, 2017, when the FTR thing first happened. I still am, but from 2016, maybe 2015 on, you know what? No, probably earlier than that. Try 2014 on. I was a huge Young Bucks fan. I have so much Young Bucks merch, so many shirts throughout the years, and supported them for so long. PWG. I traveled to PWG twice to see. Well, I saw them the first time. That was the first time I got to see them. I saw them in Ring of Honor. Now I've seen them in AEW. They've been doing this for so long, and I really just was backing them as this, quirky and very self-aware, ironic tag team, if you will, kind of doing things that aren't the norm, paying homage to things, referencing Dave Meltzer, doing the click stuff. All those types of things really endeared me to the Young Bucks, and I'm still a huge fan of them to this day. But now it's just they're part of AEW, and there's so many other teams and wrestlers that are in the fray that it's tough to just solidly stay with one team as my favorite. And really, a lot of the talents across the board in WWE and AEW, I'm a fan of. So it's really easier for me to like everybody instead of just a team that's on the independents growing. But at a certain point, when the FTR was the Revival in NXT, American Alpha matches and just like DIY matches with that, and like so many amazing matches as they were having in NXT, while the Young Bucks are having great matches everywhere. Ring of Honor, PWG, like I said. And once Being the Elite became a thing, their vlog show, there was at a point a time where the Young Bucks said F the Revival. And that is the basis for the acronym that they currently use, FTR. And I love that, now it's F the rest, or sometimes referred to as Forever the Revival. But it's fascinating to me now that they've had 2 matches and that this match is their third, and it's going to take place in front of the biggest crowd for all 4 of these guys, bar none. And I have no doubt in my mind that these 4 guys are going to potentially steal the show at Wembley Stadium. The Young Bucks have had so many great matches since being in AEW, and FTR has as well. And they've even had matches outside of AEW with the Briscoes, Ring of Honor, a few matches. They've really, really traveled the globe and really done a lot. So these 4 guys, this is as big as it has ever gotten for all 4. And quite frankly, a lot of the talent on this show, this is the biggest moment of their career. Even Chris Jericho, who has been at WrestleManias and Tokyo Dome shows, he even stated that, this is the biggest event for me. So a lot of these guys and girls, this is really their biggest moment that they ever might have as a pro wrestler. So with that being said, I just think the crowd's going to love this. I don't see how these 4 guys won't tear the house down. And I'm going to predict that the Young Bucks take the titles. This would be a great crowning achievement for them. I think FTR could. It's not that they necessarily need a break, but I would like to see the Young Bucks become champs and start defending the titles more regularly. That'd be fun. See what they can do with that. I think FTR's had a great run. And it would be great to see the Young Bucks finish it out. They might even do like a curtain call type thing. So I'm looking forward to this match. Give me the Young Bucks to win. Let's do one of the 6-man tags. We've got the Golden Elite Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi versus Konosuke Takeshita, Juice Robinson, Jay White, Bullet Club Gold. Some are saying that this is a waste for Kenny Omega to be in a 6-man tag and on a solo, one-on-one match, but Danielson's hurt. You're not going to get Jay White and Kenny, and you're not going to get Will Ospreay Kenny because you're going to probably get that at Wrestle Kingdom. And you want to get as many people on this card. Like I said, this is more of a super card and not necessarily the week to week. Now, the stuff on this show counts for all intents and purposes, but you got to remember that next week is another show. So, things could be rapidly evolving and changing by the time next Sunday rolls around and we have another pay-per-view to tackle and to preview right here on the Juice Box with Josh Eisenberg. But on this show, because there's 80,000 fans, and this is, again, AEW's words, the biggest event in wrestling history, their tagline. Why wouldn't you want to put as many people on this show as you could to maximize exposure for them, to maximize the exposure for the fans to see as much talent as they can that never get to see, AEW. So this will and I do want to do this just a couple of stats here because just dealing with the 80,000 and such. This is the first show for AEW in the United Kingdom. Huge. This is their first pay-per-view event held outside of North America, which is huge. Their last pay-per-view was the first one outside of the United States, which was in Canada. Forbidden Door, fantastic. And this is the first time AEW is going to be run in an association football stadium, aka a soccer stadium. And this is, current Wembley, because Wembley original had SummerSlam 92, of course. But this is the 100th anniversary of Wembley in general, and the new Wembley, this is the first pro wrestling event there. Dare I say that WrestleMania could show up here in 2 years. That's what I would wager. I'm going to say that. I think Minneapolis gets it for 41, and I say in 2026, London gets not all in. They're already getting all in. They will get WrestleMania 42. And right now, it seems like they're going to hit over 80,000. 709 was the actual ticket count for paid attendance for WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, which I attended. And All In now has at least sold 80,846 as of 6 days ago, or 7 days ago, rather. So it's conceivable that All In, this show, surpasses WrestleMania 32 for attendance. So with that all being said, it's so, it's definite that the, AEW wants to get as much talent on this show to maximize the exposure, and alike for the fans and for the wrestlers. So seeing these guys in a 6-man, I don't think it's a problem. You're not going to get an Ibushi single, a lot of these guys. If I would have had a singles match out of these 6 guys, it would have been Jay White versus Kenny Omega. But instead, you'll get Hangman, you'll get Kenny Omega, you get Ibushi, Takeshita's on the rise, and Bullet Club Gold. Juice Robinson's great. He might have stolen my name, but it's fine. All juices must stay together. And Jay White's fantastic. So I like the 6-man. I don't hate that at all. And I'm going to give this match to the Golden Elite. I think you get another great match and involvement with these guys. And I don't see why it can't not steal the show, but I don't see why you can't accentuate all the talents, even without having a one-on-one match for Kenny Omega. So I don't think it's a waste at all. Let's get into another crazy match. This is the Stadium Stampede match. Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta, and Penta El Zero Miedo versus the BCC, Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and the returning Santana and Ortiz, who this past Wednesday beat down Ray Fenix, and thus why it's Kingston, Cassidy, best friends, and Penta on the other side. But I love this. Stadium Stampede's a great match. It's been fun every time they've done it, and now we get Moxley again in this realm. I think they're going to have a hell of a time. I think you're going to see a potential chainsaw spot because Terry Funk, famously, of course, WrestleMania 32, we just referenced this, gave then Dean Ambrose a chainsaw to potentially use in his match against Brock Lesnar. He didn't. Shout out Justin LaBar, who was the most excited for the Lesnar-Ambrose match that completely missed the mark, in my personal opinion. But I'd like to see Mox do some sort of tribute to Funk with that. So we'll see. I think the BCC takes this match. Eddie Kingston's going to do something nuts. You know that. So I can't wait to see what happens. It's nice to see Santana and Ortiz back, though, for sure. All right, let's do another match here. Let's tap into Darby Allin, Sting versus Swerve Strickland and Christian. Um, this is a bizarre one for me. It's a coffin match, and I can't wait to watch it. Um, but 2 days ago, it was Swerve Strickland and AR Fox, but they did a weird switch to Christian last second where even though AR Fox and Swerve Strickland beat Nick Wayne within an inch of his life at his own home compound gym, after AR Fox blew the match this past Wednesday, uh, Swerve and Nana fired him, and it seemed as if at a point maybe Brian Cage was to be the tag team partner, but now we're getting Christian and Swerve Strickland versus Darby Allin and Sting, which I will argue will be better, purely because Christian is pretty clearly one of the top 2 or 3 heels in AEW. His verbal assaults on the microphone are unbelievable. He's so damn good. But I think Sting and Darby Allin take this. I think Swerve gets put in the coffin. I know it's a coffin match, and I know that's more of a Darby and Black and White Crow Sting thing, and I know that Sting's been doing the Joker Sting thing a little bit, but damn it, can we get Surfer Sting for one night? That would be great. So we'll see, but give me Darby and Sting in a coffin match to win. Cannot wait for that. That might be one that I seeing Sting in an 80,000 seater when WrestleMania 31 happened. I enjoyed the match with Triple H. You know, Cody wasn't going to come in 1 year and win the world title off Roman after being champion for 3 years, and Cody creates AEW. Sting was never going to be the guy that was always known as the guy who never went to WWE forever and then go to WWE and beat Triple H in his first match at WrestleMania. But that was not what pissed me off. What pissed me off was the, you know, welcome to the big time, Sting, and like it's like, dude, Sting has been around. Sting wrestled the Tokyo Dome. Sting wrestled, Starcades. He wrestled huge venues throughout his career, and he did it on his terms. He wrestled in TNA for lesser crowds than he probably ever wanted to, he didn't even need to, but he did for the betterment of the business. And I think now that he's back with a company that respects the work and has given him a platform and a chance as a legend, as I mentioned earlier, with the legends, AEW treats their legends so well. And Sting now gets a tag match with his protege in a coffin match in front of 80,000 fans. And I think it's going to be a great moment for Sting to really soak in what truly will be the big time and arguably the biggest crowd he's ever wrestled in front of. So I'm a big Young Bucks fan, but I mean, I was Sting for Halloween when I was 4 years old. So I think it's pretty clear that Sting, that might be the match I'm looking forward to most, is the Sting match. Just to see him get this big moment, even at an elevated and extended age. Although, what is he, 64? Yeah, he's 64. So, I can't wait. All right, we did the Stadium Stampede. We did that 6-man. All right, let's go into the last 5 matches. Let's start with Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho singles match. Nothing but bragging rights here, but I mean, this is Will Ospreay, who, if he wins, he would have defeated Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Kazuchika Okada in the span of 2 months, which is insane. Will Ospreay, he's just 30. He just turned 30. Incredible contract signing promos back and forth with him and Jericho. Jericho stating that even though he's been in Tokyo Dome, he's done WrestleManias, he's done this, he's done that, he's been around the world for the last 30 years. This will be the biggest moment for his career. And I can't deny him saying that. Again, 80,000 is a number, and I know I keep saying it, but that's how big it is. Normally, WrestleMania is once a year. You know for a fact WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year, right? By way of promotion and, 2 nights, and it's a huge football stadium every year. But now AEW, another company, a North American-based company, is going to be doing a similar stadium in August, and non-competing with WrestleMania or anything, and it's going to have a WrestleMania-sized crowd. In fact, bigger than the biggest WrestleMania-sized crowd. So I believe Chris Jericho when he says that. He's going to have Fozzy himself play himself to the ring, which would be badass. And Will Ospreay, this is a huge moment for him. This is clearly his biggest match of his career. Not just because he's facing Chris Jericho, because I think you could obviously have bigger matches, but against a legend like Chris Jericho in what Jericho said is his biggest match in the biggest crowd he's ever wrestled. He wrestles indies currently, when he's not wrestling with New Japan. And he also said New Japan's contract with him ends in the end of the year. So that'll be an interesting bidding war. Will Ospreay and MJF. Who will have them? AEW, WWE, somewhere else? We'll find out. I got to think Will Ospreay wins this match. But I look forward to seeing a good showing from Chris Jericho. I think he's presented as the face here. But Don Callis is such a heel. He's such a POS. I think that the crowd will much prefer have Jericho win, even though Ospreay is the hometown guy. So that actually could be up in the air. We'll see. But give me Will Ospreay to win this match. Let's get into the only women's match on the card. Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, Saraya, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Fatal 4-way for the AEW Women's World Title. This could go a number of ways. I don't know really who's going to win this thing. I kind of want to say Toni Storm, but I'm pulling for Britt. I think it would be huge for Britt to win. Whoever wins all these matches, whoever wins, anybody who's even competing in these matches, again, it's going to be such a huge moment. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, and I'm going to predict Toni Storm wins this match. I know Shida just won the title back, but I don't know. I think Toni Storm can come back and reclaim it, but it might be too soon. So maybe overall, Hikaru probably retains, but I'm gonna stick with Toni Storm to win the match and the title. Last three matches, the real World's Championship. Samoa Joe challenges the champion, quote unquote, CM Punk. A match we saw on Collision, which was met with a lot of fanfare for being the first time in almost 18 years that those two had squared off in the ring together against one another, and it didn't disappoint. And I think now with this Real World's Championship thing of CM Punk painting the X over the belt, saying the Real World's Champion like Flair did, painting the belt like the NWO did, having a match with Samoa Joe, which is a Ring of Honor thing, at an AEW show. There's so many things going on in this little build here. I have no doubt CM Punk wins this match and retains. I really would like to see some sort of angle, though, to go further, where CM Punk, someone comes out and says something about the title, or what have you. I don't know what that looks like, but I'd like to, because again, we have All Out next week. Whoever wins the AEW title, are they going to defend it? Is the Real World Champion going to defend it? Are they going to have a one-on-one? Could it be, let's just say it's MJF and Punk. Is Punk and MJF going to go title for title? What is going to happen? So I'm going to say CM Punk retains. I think the crowd is going to be unglued for CM Punk's entrance here. I would love if it were this Fire Burns. I know they did the Ring of Honor entrance. Was it last year? Early last year? I can't remember when, but that was an incredible entrance. But this Fire Burns would be, whew, that would be epic. Could you imagine if they got Killswitch Engage for that? Oh my goodness. So I take CM Punk retaining the Real World Championship. A match that just was made official on Dynamite. We are getting, quote, badass Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed versus the House of Black, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Malachi Black. 6-man tag match for the AEW World Trios title. This match should be fantastic. And it's a similar scenario from Grand Slam last fall, where the Acclaimed were so over in the midst of their match. Was it with Swerve and Our Glory that they, some people thought they should just pivot during the match and have the Acclaimed win. That was at the pay-per-view, rather. Sorry, that was at All Out, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. If I am, forgive me. But they ended up doing the match again at Grand Slam, and the Acclaimed ended up getting the win. So, to me, I think now you had the Billy Gunn, quote, unquote, retirement thing, and then he comes back and says, they pissed on my career, and you can't do that. You hurt one of my kids, and a badass is going to show up at Wembley. I think you're going to see the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn take the trios titles from the House of Black. I don't know what that means for the House of Black because I really like them. Their entrance is great. All three guys are solid in ring. They all have their unique styles to them that make them a great cohesive team. And I would also say that it'll be more fun to see the trios titles being defended from another team, like having the trios titles and the Acclaimed get you an Acclaimed entrance. Most weeks, it'll just be nice. Like the House of Black's great, but it's like the House of Black is probably not gonna. I'd like to see him maybe branch out into a singles realm. They've had a lot of defenses so far, but I think it's time to switch it up a bit. Get a babyface team in there as your champions. You could even run this match back at All Out if you wanted to. There's plenty of avenues to go here, but I think in front of 80,000, like I said, I think the crowd really does change a lot. I think a lot of positive, not necessarily babyface finishes, but like the right finishes are going to happen more often than not on this show, purely based on the fact that there's 80,000 fans, and it's just the right call, knowing that it's a super card-ish, and you can get away with that and still have storyline stuff, land. And then next week you can kind of fiddle with that as you go to All Out and figure out what you want to do post these two shows. But give me the Acclaimed winning the tag titles, or the trios titles, for a Billy Gunn one more run, which would be cool. MJF, Adam Cole, Better Than You, Baby, main event, AEW World title on the line. We all know this story. Again, I mentioned it earlier. They had to somehow coexist. They both hate Tony Schiavone. They played video games together. They went to a bar together. They played dodgeball together. They ate hot wings together. Best of friends. They wrestled FTR together. They lost, but they hugged. MJF has had some moments to turn on Cole. Cole's had moments to turn on MJF. We got the Roddy Strong and Kingdom Bennett and Taven aspect as well. Somebody is turning heel in this match. And I don't even mean heel, but someone's turning on the other. MJF has admitted he's a scumbag. Adam Cole doesn't ever admit that. He's still pretty babyface for a heel, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Roderick Strong is a huge part of this. He's either a pawn to show that Adam Cole is like really looking to Roddy for help, and or Roddy's looking to say, hey, you can't be friends with MJF, and Adam Cole is like, get away from me. I don't want to do this, to give the effect to MJF that he is really his friend and what have you, all for Cole to betray MJF, which I think was going to be the case. Or Roddy was a plot the whole time. Adam Cole is going to be the face, and MJF, pretty much hired out Roddy Strong. But I actually think Cole's going to turn here, and I think you could do a double turn at this thing. If that happens and MJF becomes a legitimate mega babyface, you could do wonders with that, especially potentially going into Chicago next week. I don't know what's going to happen with the Real World title. I don't know what the hell is going on. Maybe you do a triple threat between Punk, Cole, and MJF next week. A lot of it hinges on this show. I hate that they're wrestling in the first match on the pre-show, but I am going to say that Adam Cole is a heel by the end of this show. That being said, oh man, I'm gonna take Adam Cole. I'm gonna take Adam Cole to win the world title. Oh man, I know I shouldn't bet on MJF. Luckily, I'm not wagering any money here, but I'm just so torn back and forth of what the move is, who should be the heel. But that is exactly why I do this show and why everybody that has a wrestling podcast, God knows there's thousands of them, do their shows, is because this is interesting. This is unpredictable. It's fascinating. It's entertaining. I have no idea who's going to turn. I assume someone will, and maybe no one does. Maybe they still stay friends and it's a clean match and Punk comes out and pisses them off, and that's how you go to the next show. I don't know what is going to happen, but I can't wait. I'm going to pick Adam Cole. So, quick rundown. I'm taking Aussie Open to retain. I'm taking Hook to win the FTW title. I'm going to take the Young Bucks to win the AEW World Tag titles. I'm going to select Toni Storm to regain her Women's World title. Sting and Darby Allin will win the Coffin match. The Golden Elite will win the Six-Man. The BCC will win Stadium Stampede. Will Ospreay will win the singles match against Chris Jericho. CM Punk retains the Real World's title against Samoa Joe. The Acclaimed and Badass Billy Gunn will win the World Trios six-man titles, the Trios titles. And Adam Cole, baby, will walk out of All In out of Wembley Stadium at 80,000 fans. Have I mentioned how Wembley and All In is going to have 80,000 fans? Adam Cole is going to walk out of that building your new All Elite Wrestling World Champion. Tell you what, this show's going to be crazy. Cannot wait. I will be live tweeting it, of course, 1 p.m. Eastern if you're on the East Coast. So if you're on the West Coast, 10 a.m., you better be up and ready. It's going to be fun. I cannot wait to see the crowd go nuts for everything. Again, much like the international PLEs for WWE, these guys, these fans don't normally get WWE or AEW. In fact, with AEW, in the 4 years that they've been around, they've never been to the UK. So this is a huge deal for AEW, for wrestling fans around the world, especially in the UK, and for the wrestlers, the guys and girls on All In itself. I think it's going to be an incredibly successful event. Can't wait to see what unfolds. And like I said, we got All Out next Sunday, so we got more to follow up. This is like a part one of a 2-part movie, but part one is huge, so I'm really excited for it. Hope you guys tune in for it as well. Hope you guys tune in next week. We've got Payback predictions as that PLE comes to Pittsburgh. We'll have some interesting guests for that prediction show, and then we'll have Josh Eisenberg hopping on as well for the All Out prediction show next week as well. So those will be in your feeds, I do believe, next Friday and Saturday, unless I will air them. I'll probably air them Friday and Saturday, a day out of each event. But as always, follow me on Twitter or X, whichever you prefer. Twitter's going to give it to you, at Juicy Steen, Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, juicysteen.podbean.com. You can find this show on Google Podcasts or on Apple Podcasts. And if you do, please go to iTunes and rate this 5 stars or straws if you're a fan of the Juice Box, because I am a fan of you, the listeners, whoever and however many there are out there. I really appreciate you guys listening each and every week. And can't wait to get through all this stuff this weekend and probably discuss some of it in detail next week during the All Out predictions, because I doubt we'll be talking about this when we discuss Payback. Although with 3 matches on the card for Payback thus far, as of August 24th when I'm recording this, who knows how much more we can discuss of that show. So maybe we'll sprinkle in some All In if it's that crazy. It could be. But either way, we'll probably talk about it before the All Out prediction show next week. So can't wait for that. Tune in next week for those 2 shows. And as always, do what you got to do to find All In this weekend on pay-per-view. It's going to be historic. AEW is calling it the biggest event in wrestling history. Will it live up to that or not? Either way, I'm all in. I'm Juice Springsteen. And thanks for tuning in. I will be back next week twice with 2 great prediction episodes with some guests. Who will they be? Tune in to find out next week, only on one particular show, and that is The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.